everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today we have Nicole Smith Daniel on our channel today. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you for having me, Queenie. It's good
You're
to be.
welcome. Tell us a little about Nicole.
Well, a lot, but we're just going to kind of condense it. I am a minister, speaker, writer, author, and I have was single for 20 years, celibate for 20 years, and which caused me to do some writing in the process of being single. And so I got with my publisher, which is also my first lady, and she was writing a book, and I said, well, there's a lot of things that I would love to write about, and I happened to be over the singles ministry, so I wanted to get some information, but I couldn't find anything in the stores. I would go to the Lifeway, and they had the women's ministry section, they had the men's ministry, the children had their own West Wing. And so and then right up under marriage would be like 3 rows for the singles, and they were like self-help books and how to find a mate and what to do, and so I need to get something that can help me, but also can help other singles at the time. So since then, in 2018, God presented me to an awesome man of God, and so in 2018 of December, I got married.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you to the Dr. Freeman Daniels, an amazing minister as well. And so we are working on writing some books ourselves, but the 3 books that I have today are the devotionals for the singles.
Singles. And you said First Lady. Would that be First Lady Norma?
Norma McLaughlin, absolutely.
Yay!
Chosen Pen Publishing. And
yes.
amazing. So we will get out we actually have a book that is coming out that we can talk about later, but it's coming out on the 27th. It's an anthology written by published by Chosen Pen.
Okay. Now tell us about Opened Palms.
Open Palms is a ministry. It is not just for singles. It is actually a ministry for men and women, just allowing God to put things in our lives that will grow us in the kingdom of God. Open Palms is the ministry, but it just so happens that the first book is called Open Palms, and it is a 28-day devotional for singles. But Open Palms is a ministry where the collaboration of all my books come into play. There is a single section, and now that I'm married, it'll be a married section, but also it is for all men and women. So when we speak and minister to people, we minister to all.
Okay. And what is your genre?
It is nonfiction. It is spiritual and religious, inspirational.
Okay. And you have 3 books, and I would love for you to talk about your 3 books now.
Absolutely. Well, the first one is actually called Open Palms. Open Palms is a book for singles. It's a 28-day devotional. And this is what I love about it. It is interactive, fill in the blanks, questions. It takes maybe about 15 minutes a day. And the entire book is what to do while you're waiting. While you're waiting, I found out being over a singles ministry that everybody is not looking to be married. Everybody's not looking to date. But if you're single, that just happens to be where God has you right there. So what are you supposed to be doing while you're there? Number one, you want to accept the fact that you're single. It's a wonderful place to be. Because that's where God has you. And wherever he has you is a good place. The other thing is it also gives you an opportunity to, it is all scripture based. There is definitely a scripture to go with it to kind of open up your day when you're doing your devotion, whether you do your devotions in the morning or in the evenings. But I like the interactive. I like to keep it real. So the stories in the book are real. They're actually my stories, or stories that have been shared with me, mostly mine, because it is more of a testimony for me, and things that have encouraged me while I'm single, and what to do while I'm waiting, and what to stay away from, and who to stay away from, and where places you need to put yourself so that you can learn more and grow more, because you're preparing yourself. If you're wanting to be married, you're preparing yourself to be married. If you don't want to be married, you're preparing yourself at bifold for the kingdom, and for the man of God that you're for God himself, because he's your husband. So that's the first book.
Okay.
The second book that came out was Dear Abba Father. One of the things and this is on prayer, and this too is interactive, fill in the blanks, answering questions. I wrote this book because it has a lot to do with prayer, and a lot of times we're praying for things that we already have. And I realized that, and God, I'm like, I'm waiting on you, Lord. I'm waiting on. He's like, I'm just waiting for you to see that you already got it. But it takes the Lord's Prayer, which is just a model prayer, and it breaks it down, and it kind of relates it to singles, and it relates us to what we should be praying for and what we shouldn't be praying for. And just to be able to prepare yourself to be presented to someone, and not so much looking for someone. And while you're waiting, what is it you need to be praying for? What's your gift? What are you operating and functioning in? I mean, like for you, Queenie, you are operating and functioning. You wear so many hats, but this particular thing that you're doing today has a lot to do with people sharing their story. You're a good listener. You actually have things in place that, not just the technology, but the life that you live and people that are watching you. And so when you talk about what you should be praying for, God is a God of specifics. So he wants you to specifically pray for. What do you want? Don't just pray for a man. Don't just pray for a woman. And this is for men and women too, by the way. And don't just pray for, something just too vast, in the sense of not being specific. God, this is what I want. This is what I want. And this is what I want. The main thing is you start anticipating, you start waiting for the prayers. And so as you keep your journal, and I keep a prayer journal, and the prayer journal has to do with when God answers prayers, then I go back and I write how he's answered them. And I'm like, wow. And it's encouraging to me, but it also is encouraging to others. And so that's the second book. There is no particular order in these books. It's book 1, 2, and 3, but it depends on the topic that you are interested in. That's just the book that you read. Now, the third book is Passion Fruit. This is kind of one of my pet peeves. And I know I'm probably going to get some emails and some texts and things, but I have an issue with Christian women and men who feel like they just can't stay celibate. They feel like it's just something that we normally do, and it's not a bad thing. We just need to ask Lord to forgive us. God is a forgiving God, but he's also a just God. And I tell people this all the time. You mean to tell me that God created, God can, he can raise a man from the dead, but he can't control the body that he raised? So at the end of the day, it has to do with our thought process and our thought process. What are we putting in our heads? What music are we listening to? What shows are we watching? What movies are we watching? What things are we watching that is allowing us to take our mind places we don't need to be? And therefore, God created sex, and it is good in the bonds of marriage. He created passions and desires in us, and it is good. So don't ask God to take it away from you. But we need to know what to do with them. As single people, what do you do with these cravings that God has given you? And they're good. So what do you do with them? And so the scriptures that go with it. But this is probably one that has been more encouraging to me in my singleness, when it comes to focusing on what your calling is, and focusing on these things. And you get in the midst of things, and then people want to talk to you about your singleness, which is great. But then, at the end, they want to date, they want to do these things. And so God had already let me know, no, it's not time for you to date right now. Right now, you need to work on you. And that's one of the things that I encourage singles to do. Take some time for yourself. What is it that you're doing? Have you already put things in place? And a lot of that is in this book as well. So these are also good stories as well. And I just am one of those that just keeps it real.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What book has most influenced your life?
Other than my books, or?
Other books, yes.
Other books. Oh, I am more so into devotionals and workbooks, but I have learned over the past year, I have been getting into novels a whole lot more. And, I've written a few of them myself, but I've been getting into a lot of them. There is one particular book that I have been reading, and it's like, and it is actually by Danielle. Actually, let me find that book because this is one of the books that I kind of been keeping. And it's called Yesterday's Tomorrow. And Danielle Seck, she is
Can you hold that up?
I can. Yesterday's tomorrow. I don't know if you can see that.
I got that book. I thought it was what you're talking about.
That is
It's,
amazing.
it's sitting on my desk at work, and I forgot to get it off my desk.
Well, I will tell you, I started reading it, and so I read a little bit to my husband, and there's a section in there that I had a question about. Surely she wasn't 3 years old. I'm like, wait a minute. So I know Danielle personally, so
Mm-hmm.
I text her. I said, now, come on now. How old were you? Because the book connotates this age. And she said, yes, ma'am, I was. It's really good to interact with the author as well.
Mm-hmm.
Normally,
Mm-hmm.
when I read a book, I'm not really interacting with them. But I'm getting into novels a lot. And it's really, really interesting to hear the life of someone, where they were, and then where they're at now. And then you kind of like, wow, you begin to see the hand of God move in ways that you're like so encouraged in. And so I love this book. It's another book that I'm reading by Colette Harrell. Um, the Devil Made Me Do It. Have you read that one?
Yeah.
Okay, now don't tell me about it because I'm not finished with that one either. And that one was, oh my gosh. So as you can see, I keep the ones that I read.
I
Um,
got it right behind me.
Okay. I have not finished that one as well. So I can only read two or three at a time so I can
Yeah.
understand what I'm
Yeah.
reading. At the same time, still trying to write my own devotionals and workbooks. And I work a 40-hour week job. So, and we're not at home. I'm still going to
Wow.
work. Yeah. And so I don't work around a lot of people. We kind of work in our own whatever. So, and there's not 10 people there at the same time ever. But we do have customers that are coming in, but we have closed the office to walk-ins, but we do appointments only. So we'll see how long that one lasts. But yes, I seem to be getting into novels now, and they're
Yes.
pretty interesting. It's like, wow. Yeah, I'm liking that.
Okay. Um, what is the hardest thing about writing your books?
Oh, I would have to say two things would be time. One of the things that's challenging for me is time. Being single for 20 years, I had a lot of it. And so now that I'm married, I am now needing to spend time with my husband, needing to go to work. Juggling time has been very challenging for me, and we've had some conversations, me and my husband. So we have come up with a plan, and so we've devised a plan to where I am able to spend some time in the evening writing books, getting things done, and spearheading some things. I have other things in place too, but he allows me to do that, and he is 150% supportive, and so that's one of my challenge. The other challenge is um, the researching that I do when it comes to making sure that I put what I want in there, but I also am keeping it real. Not trying to be so wordy or whatever, but just kind of, I want to be relative. I want to be related. I want people to be able to relate to it and say, yeah, oh, yeah, no, I've done that before, or I know somebody who's done that before. And so I try to keep it real. And sometimes the challenge is how much of that do I share? And how much of that do I keep? So that's just something that I'm always prayerful about. I guess the two challenges would be my time. When you're a writer, even if you're a reader, you have to find some time, and before you know it, 2 hours have passed by.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, whoa, and you have to
Yes.
stop. You have to find a stopping point
Yes.
and go. So what I try to do, even with being newly married, is I'll work for about 30 minutes, and then I'll get up and go to spend some time with my husband and kind of come back and do a little bit more and find
Mm-hmm.
another stopping point and go spend some time with them. Not to just be in here for 2 and 3 hours straight and just be solid. I'm learning. I'm learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot to learn, but it's all good. It's amazing.
Okay. My next question was, are you married and do you have any children? And how do you balance family life and writing?
Wow. The amazing thing is, I don't know how amazing my kids would think of it. All my kids are grown. So I happened to get married later in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they're grown. I have a 33-year-old, a 31-year-old, a 27-year-old, and a 21-year-old. They're all grown and on their own. And my husband has two children. They're 27 and 28, and they're all grown. And so the balance of children is not one of the dynamics in this one. But as far as yes, I'm married. Been married now for a month, a year and 4 months, something like that. December the 14th, 2018. Um, it's amazing when you think about the ministry that you do together. When you think about the bigger picture, the kingdom of God, and being able to, you fight the devil. Now you're fighting them. Two of you fighting them.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
it's that's even better. So not having the children is an asset, but also being married, you still kind of are juggling your time with that. The other dynamic that is in my life is I bought a house and moved my mom in with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my an 88-year-old mom with me. She is amazing, and she has she she had a seizure in 2017, and she couldn't live by herself. So I moved her, bought a house and moved her in with me. And she has not, she's been doing great. I mean,
Good.
she's still clean. She still does everything, still walks, and she doesn't drive. And we are her chauffeur. And so she brings an asset. Sometimes we sit at her feet and kind of learn some things
Mm-hmm.
from the elders that can teach us. And so that's kind of like a little juggle a little bit too. But it's also an asset to the both of us as far as learning from the elders that can teach us things.
Okay. How hard is it to establish and maintain a career in writing?
Um, I don't think that it's hard. I think it maybe your time may be challenging if you work a full-time job as you do. Um, if you work a full-time job and you have other things that you have going on, but I will have to say the passion is so amazing that that's what drives me to find the time.
Mm-hmm.
My husband sees the passion in me, and he gives me that opportunity. He also chimes in. He chime in when I'm reading. He sits there and listens to my story, and he's intrigued, and then he'll kind of give me some input, and that helps, kind of makes things a little bit easier when you have that great support and people are encouraging you. Then you have your publisher who kind of gives you those deadlines and kind of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whatnot. But I would say, to me, it's not hard. I love to do that. That's what I love to do. It is a matter of finding the time and purposely, intentionally making time for it. I mean, you make time for everything else, so that's just kind of one of those things
Mm-hmm.
you gotta make time for.
Yes.
Hmm.
What started you on your path to writing?
What started me was years ago. I lived in Nashville, Tennessee for 30 years. I was in the military. And so my brother had a magazine in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and he would tell me, Nikki, I know you're writing. Or I would love for you to give me some excerpts from what you're writing. Well, I hadn't published anything, and I was just kind of writing a story about myself, but I turned it into a novel. And I hadn't written a lot, maybe written maybe 2 or 3 chapters. And when he called and asked me to send him some excerpts, that encouraged me to write more because I'm like, I can't keep sending him the same thing. And so I kept adding chapters and I kept adding chapters and I kept adding chapters. And before you know it, I had almost 22 chapters. And that book is not published yet, but because it is a continuation. So we are working on that one too. But that kind of started me. And I'm like, wow. And then as time went on and I was over the singles ministry, I just couldn't find things that kind of encouraged me, create your own. Then God called me
Mm-hmm.
to ministry, and I did my initial sermon, and that encouraged me even more. So now the studying, the researching, and that now has become my passion. It's kind of like I tell my husband, it's like candy. it's like eating candy. It's like, I can't wait. You know, when people say, Nicole, I want to interview you, I'm like, yes, you know, you're nervous, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to get out there and to share your testimony. People are waiting to hear things that you have dealt with, been through. I'm waiting to hear some things from people. And so that has kind of encouraged me as well.
Okay. Who are some authors in your genre that inspires you?
Okay, of course, my publisher definitely would have to number one be Norma McLaughlin. She's not just a man of God, but a woman of God, but she is her whole issue, her whole um, focus is on strengthening women and dealing with issues that women have when it comes to depression, anxiety, when it comes to forgiveness, when it comes to feeling worthy. She has a 8-week workbook that is free to choose, that I remember going through it the very first time, and it's like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I definitely would love to do it again. I'm in a different place in my life, and I'm in a different season. But she would be probably the number one, and not to be so biased because I love her. But another one would definitely be Priscilla Shire. I would have to say Tony Evans' daughter, Priscilla Shire. I have taught so many of her classes and so many of her workbooks, and Beth Moore. And
Mm-hmm.
and those are things, people that have inspired me to and encouraged me, because they also keep it real. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's encouraging.
I got a chance last October to meet First Lady.
Oh,
And it was like, wow, you know, at the
at
Christian
the Christian Book Club
retreat.
in
Yes.
was it in Charlotte?
Charlotte.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes. Why did you choose the genre that you're in?
Um, you know what? I don't know so much if I chose it or if it chose me,
Hmm.
because that's where I was. And I just wrote about where I was, and it
Yes.
just seemed to be easily able to flow. When I got married, I said, you know, I'm not going to really do probably a lot more about singles, because I am single now.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it seemed like it's overflowing with still more singles. The singles that have, you know, that I've taught, they still come to me. We still talk. They still need encouragement, and so I decided last year to take the 3 books that I have written, take those 3 books, and they have now been turned into, they have an accompaniment with it, and there is a 4-week Bible study that goes with each one of them. And they are coming out this year. Actually, the first one, Passion Fruit, it is a 4-week in-depth Bible study. You have to have the book, and the workbook goes with it. And then it is, we go a little bit deeper, and there's more challenges in it. And so that kind of like made me want to write a little bit more about the singles, because that's where I was. And I feel like that was the largest part of my life, where God was teaching me things and taking me places that I'd never been before. But I think that it took that to get me where I am now. And it's been encouraging.
Okay. I like to ask the question. Um,
Mhm.
you said about Miss Schiffer's books that
Uh-huh.
you took her books and you did a class on her books.
Yes. Hmm.
How would you feel about someone taking your 3 books and making a class or a virtual uh, little workshop online to going through your class, through your books as a class?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That is actually the direction that I would love for it to go. I've actually taught one of the classes for Passion Fruit at my church. And the opportunity is there for me to go and teach at other churches, or they can actually take it and teach it with their groups. They can teach it virtually. That's really the direction that I would love to take it, Queenie. I would love to take it there, to where people can take that, and then they can add their thoughts to it as they answer the questions and do the challenges. Um,
Mhm.
I'm a hands-on person. I'm very visual, and I like to touch things, and so that's how I write. So since that's how I write, that's how I teach. But that is amazing. I would love for that to happen, and that to happen. So when I get in churches and I speak to single groups, that's one of the things that I try to encourage. You want to get together because marriage is an amazing thing that God has instituted. But if you're single as well, you want to be with like-minded people so that you can learn what it is not to be so focused on where you're going, but where you're at and what are you doing while you're there to take you to where you want to go. And the focus is not so much on I'm doing this because I want to get married, or I'm doing this because I want to date, or I'm doing this because no, I'm doing this because this is where I am, and I just want God to use me where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. What has been one of your most rewarding experiences as an author?
Oh, other than today, um, one of the most rewarding times was when I was asked to speak and to share some things, and I was on it was like a panel, and
Mm-hmm.
and they were all singles, men and women, and I love the experience of not just sharing with people, but I like to hear others. And I remember that particular day that I had published, I think the book had been published maybe for 6 months, and I wasn't there for the books. I was there at a singles conference. And I remember there was something that was said that was encouraging to me. It was a pastor, he was single, and he said, he was given some pointers as far as to what it is that you should be doing and you shouldn't be doing. And he said one of the things that he has to do is he has to be careful when he's dating to, you don't bringing people to your house and bringing people in closed places where it's just the two of you
To you. Mm-hmm.
and by yourself, and especially if you don't have any accountability people. But I remember that particular day, and that was like that kind of spearheaded my spiritual walk. Like, wow. I mean, I can't even remember his name, uh, but I do remember the words. And opportunities like that are times that may get me excited when I hear, but I'm also able to share. Um, I'm also, yeah. And I guess the other thing that gives me excitement is when a new book comes out. When my new book comes out, it's like, yes.
What do you love most about the writing process?
Um, I guess my favorite is, oh my gosh, there's so many of them. I have a book coming out in April, and my favorite part was when my son happens to be a graphic engineer, and he does all my covers. When he came back with the cover, and it's like, wow. So that made me, before the cover even came out, I'm writing and I'm trying to find a visual of what people would think. What do they think, and what are they visualizing as they're reading this part of it, or when they're reading day one or they're reading day two. um, what are they thinking? So I think my favorite part is when I'm actually in the writing process. It's not even finished, but I am like, when you're on a tangent and you just keep going, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. You may not even use it all, but you keep going, you keep going. And it's the favorite, my best part is the writing. I love to write. I know we got to do the upload and the formatting and the editing, and editing is not my favorite. I mean, I don't personally do it. I try to do as much as I can before I let someone else do it, but that is not my favorite. My favorite would be the writing. And then when I get to the end and I read it again, and this last one I just wrote, I read it to my husband, and he was like, you know, so to hear him, because he can give me constructive criticism.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't mind that. But I think just the writing, getting the stuff down there, and then the next day when I know this is what I'm going to write about, but what's the challenge going to be for this day? What's the challenge? I'm going to need them to go somewhere and pick up something. I'm going to need them to actually do something. So it's the writing that I enjoy. I
Mhm.
enjoy that.
Okay. What projects are you working on right now?
Oh my. So I'm working on the three Bible studies that are going to be um, that goes along with the first three books. And so it is going to be, there'll be a book reveal on that. The other book is another book. I'm going to tell you the title of it right now. And that is also, it's a 28-day challenge, but it's for men and women. It's not just for singles. And the other project is, it's my story of 20 years. It is actually going to be a 3-book series. I'm excited about that because my
Yes.
husband gets to be involved in the last book part, book 3.
Yeah.
So we're very, very excited about that. The next thing that we're going to be trying to do at the end of this year is we're going to try to do a workbook / devotional for married couples. And it will probably be a 6-week Bible study. So we're going to try to get that done too. We'll see how that goes.
How can readers get in touch with you?
Oh, wow. Okay. Many ways. The first way is definitely by my website, www.openedpalms.com. It is OPENED with an ED at the end, openpalms.com. All my books are on there. You can definitely order them through there. A lot of blogs on there. I try to blog at least once a week. They're not geared to single women or single men or whatever. They are for the people of God. Anybody who enjoys reading, probably going to take you about 2, 3, 4 minutes to read them. A lot of blogs on there. There's a lot of videos on there. So as a speaker, there's things that you can go on. The other way that you can get in touch with me is on Facebook, and it is at Open Palms. The other is Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and they are all at Open Palms. And so that's the best way I try to maneuver all of those. And so, and there's a number there that you can definitely call if you need to call. There is an email address. The email address is Nicole Smith at openpalms.com. You can definitely do that. And the email address is on all of those social medias as well.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
I just want to say thank you. I've been following you for a long time. And
Oh, really?
yes, and I'm like, I heard of you through First Lady. And I kind of been watching you. So when you're on, I'll watch you and because you're kind of funny and you're kind of this. And I'm like, yeah. And then when you were on my video, when I did a video with Bridges Book Club, I saw you on there and I'm like, wow. And then when you asked me, I'm like, absolutely, yes. I would definitely love to.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So I thank you for all that you do. You are an inspiration for someone who is such an avid reader. That is encouraging to us all because you know how much time you got to find to read in the midst of all that you do. My goodness.
I try. I'm at work and I'd be like, okay, I got downtime.
Wow. You know, an avid reader when you're reading at work.
Oh, I said the book Tomorrow's Promise is sitting. I got like 5 books on my desk sitting. I was like, they told us to clean everything out, and I moved them, I guess, to go in my box, and then I just left them. Now, like, oh God, so I'm gonna have to pick up some more books to read while I'm here. But
right,
like 6 arcs, I gotta finish. I gotta finish this editing project for this lady, and then I got a group that we doing Becoming, and I am so far behind on that. I told last time I have to finish that, and then we got the book of the month. I ain't even opened that, so it's like, oh my God, I gotta get on my P's and Q's.
Get on your grind.
Yes. All right. Thank you for coming in today.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Again, this is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.